News at 10.
It was wonderful for as long as it lasted, which wasn't very long. Prices for 87-octane gasoline below $2 a gallon at some stations in metropolitan Los Angeles. To set the scene for today's edition of Midday Sunday, we begin with a report from Hal Eisner, which he filed earlier this week.
Mike Pogue and the gang are heading to the Sierras, but it's going to cost them more on the way back than they're paying to go up. And that's because of a big price hike happening as we speak.
They've been down pretty low, so we'll see what happens.
That means we're in for some pain at the pump.
Jamie Court is with Consumer Watchdog. They track these things.
Drivers in Southern California should go out and get their gas as soon as possible and fill up their tank, because if they wait, it's going to cost them another 30 cents plus per gallon.
It's been low for a while now, and it's just, I figured it would be a matter of time before it started going back up.
Personally, I think that's way overinflated.
Whatever you think, the culprit is summer blend. And some like Patrick Tahan at GasBuddy.com in Chicago says it seems so dramatic because prices have gotten so low in recent weeks. Part is the drop in the price per barrel. The other part is a discount that refiners gave to retailers in the last couple of weeks to get rid of winter fuel and make room for summer blend. That fuel is supposed to be better for our air. And according to Dahan, it's safer because it reduces butane.
Butane is plentiful. It's cheap. The big problem with butane is it's volatile. It evaporates. It burns very easy. It doesn't have as much energy. And you have to get rid of that butane, that cheap butane.
And that summer blend, what's that?
There's a change of what's called reed vapor pressure, RVP, so that your car runs better.
But even when gas prices were down, we were still higher than the rest of the country, which is why drivers like Dan Farino aren't buying it.
You're skeptical, aren't you? You don't really think this is for the betterment of our environment?
Come on.
Nonetheless, the prices are going up. Eisner, Fox 11 News.
Good Sunday morning, everybody. As usual, when something like this is going on, we always invite Jamie Court to come over. He's the president of Consumer Watchdog. What's going on is, I think it may, as we sit here Friday, pre-recording for Sunday air, things may have shaken up a little bit differently than the way they were on Wednesday when Hal filed that report.
Well, we call it the Southern California gouge. The Golden State Gouge is another way of looking at it, with a hashtag before it. It's, in Southern California right now, we're paying, as of today, about 75 cents more than the rest of America for gasoline, and that's low, because all last year we were paying about $1 more than the rest of America. But what's happened is the oil refiners that control 80% of gasoline production, there are 4 of them, and they control prices at 75% of the gas stations, the branded stations that carry their brand. When they're trucking out a new blend of fuel, this summer blend of fuel, they raise prices on the station owners by 37 cents. So when those trucks start to come across, starting Friday, the trucks started to come to certain gas stations, and those gas stations had to raise their prices by 37, 40 cents on the customers. So you see gas stations, as of Friday, where you can still get gas, a branded station $2.30, and then you see down the block they're charging $2.77 because they had to raise the price. And this is the way oil refiners do it to us. The summer blend in the north, when they rolled this out, has only raised prices by pennies over the last 10 days. They've rolled it out. In Southern California, we're paying a premium because the oil refiners here have such control over the market that they can raise prices. And they've, until this time, through the end of February 15th through the 25th, they were selling winter blend 10 days longer than they should have, because stockpiling it all winter, so prices were going way down, and now we're in for the big change.
And they were selling them at rock bottom prices just to clear out the tanks.
Right, they had to. But why weren't they selling it back earlier in the year when prices were much higher? They held back supply in order to keep prices high, and then they had to dump it at the market. They dumped it, and then even though this blend costs only a few pennies, at most a dime to make and get to the stations, they're now suddenly charging 37 cents more overnight.
All right, so where's, for example, Kamala Harris, the state attorney general? Where's Jackie, our district attorney here? Where are these people? Do they have anything that's prosecutable?
Well, I think they do have things that could be investigated and prosecuted, but I haven't talked to them and I haven't seen them. We are giving evidence to the Attorney General's office, but we have heard nothing publicly about this. And frankly, I think if we had the Attorney General out there saying, look, it's odd that we have 4 refiners on the same day at 6 p.m. on Thursday telling their gas stations they're going to ship summer blend and they're going to charge 37 cents more for it at the exact same time, at the exact same price on the exact same day, and yet somehow they haven't talked to each other about it. I think if the Attorney General was out there watching and doing something, it wouldn't happen. But she's been asleep at the switch all year long, and it's a real stark contrast to earlier Attorney Generals that have been on these issues whenever gas prices spike. Last year we paid an extra $10 billion in California for our gasoline compared to U.S. drivers across the country. There's always a reason. It's a refinery outage, a blend switchover. We had a lot of refineries out, including one in Southern California, the Exxon Torrance refinery. It's going to hopefully come online after more than a year out by April. But this is not that. This is basically the oil refiners having control not only over the production, but also what they charge these gas stations, and they unreasonably inflate the prices to inflate the street price. Now, if you have the good fortune to go to an unbranded gas station or independent gas station or Costco, you may still find the winter blend gas this weekend at somewhere near $2. But come Monday, you're not going to be finding that very frequently. And if you go to a branded station, they're going to be around $3 pretty soon.
And that's because the underground tanks are now full of the summer blend.
They're coming in with the summer blend, and when those trucks come in, the oil refiners, they're charging more for it, unjustifiably.
The last time you were with us, we talked at length about branded versus unbranded. How does that work? The gas is all coming out of basically the same refinery.
It's the same gas.
Yeah.
It's the same gas. It's, you know, there may be a little Chevron puts Techron in, but it's all the same gas. It's all fungible. What happens is in Southern California in particular, and this is why the price spikes aren't hitting Northern California as much, the oil refiners that make the gasoline, the Chevrons, the Shells, the Tesoros, they have branded stations that they deal with, and they charge what's called a dealer tank wagon price when these stations buy the gas. They control that price. So not only are they controlling the production of gasoline, for 80% of the state, they control the price at 75% of the gas stations. And so even when there's a lot of gas, if they want to charge more for it, they just tell their stations, we're going to charge more for it. Then they dump the cheap fuel on the 20% of stations that are independent, unbranded, the Costco's. Costco's a huge part of that market. Costco sells the gas much cheaper than the brandeds, but the street price still is way, way higher because the refiners are setting that price at whatever they want.
Wait, are you saying that the refiners or the gas companies are actually saying, okay, Mr. Joe Blow here at the corner of such and such, you will sell your gas for $2.49 a gallon?
A branded station has to buy gas from Chevron at the price Chevron charges. They can't go anywhere else. So if 75% of the stations are controlled by these branded companies, oil refiners, Chevron says it's going up 37 cents, Shell says it's going up 37 cents. Everywhere in Southern California, those station owners pay the 37 cents, pass it on to the consumers, take a little bit more for themselves.
What's the profit margin for these dealerships typically?
That was really interesting. Not all oil refiners report their profit margins, but in the last year...
Not the refineries, for the dealers
it's
themselves.
About 30 cents a gallon, maybe a little bit more. They mark it up. They mark up to 30 cents a gallon.
Do they have a tendency to manipulate the prices, maybe drop it down a couple pennies to bring people in?
They can, and in fact, one station was selling it like around $1.99 on the winter fuel because they could to make some money. They ran out of gas pretty quickly. We figured out, though, here's the thing. The wholesale price of gas, which is what you would buy in the L.A. port, 3 days ago, was 57 cents. We could have bought gas for 57 cents, paid some taxes, and sold it break even at $1.45. We were going to rent a gas station to show how cheap gas was. Most gas stations never went under $2. So at that point, the station owners were making a little more money. Now when they're getting the new shipments and they're paying more, they're going to be making less money. They're going to have to raise the price, but they may not raise it that total 37 cents, but they're going to have to raise it pretty close to 30.
Here on the west side of the city, there are a couple of branded stations that routinely sell gasoline for what seems to be $1 a gallon more than what the same brand maybe 6 or 7 blocks away can do. The individual dealers can do that?
The dealers can charge what they want, but they have to pay for the gas what the company tells them to pay, what the oil refiner, if they're a branded station delivering it is. So,
and if I have two, we won't mention a particular brand, but if we have two dealerships, say